Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and coming up on today's show, I'm going to tell you the Raiders news that you need to see. We went out, we signed some players to the practice squad, a lot of injury updates to be able to discuss, and a little bit later on in today's show, I'm going to tell you some news that I think it's going to put a smile on your face. We're also going to talk about a big decision that Shedeur Sanders made that could potentially impact his ability to be drafted by the Las Vegas Raiders. So first, before I jump into today's show, our sponsor is Panda Supps. I'm rocking their hoodies right now. You probably heard me talk about them a lot. If anybody wants some workout supplements, use code TANK, T-A-N-K, I think you know how to spell it, for 20% off at pandasupps.com. That link's going to be in the comments. It's going to be in the description of today's show. So first, let's talk about some moves that the Raiders made yesterday. They released linebacker Blake Lynch and tight end Trevon Wesco from the practice squad. I know some of y'all are like, didn't even know they were on the roster. It's all good. So we move on from those two players, and then we ended up adding two more players. The first one was a running back. His name is Chris Collier. He's 24 years old, 5'11", 210-pounder. The reason why that I love this name is I've actually heard about this kid before because of where he played college football, which is really close to where I grew up in central Pennsylvania. Shout out to the 570. But he ended up playing at a community college. Then he ended up playing at Wagner. And then in 2023, he played at a small school in the PSAC called Lock Haven. If you have never heard of him, look him up. But I actually did a recruiting visit there when I was thinking about playing baseball again, way back in the day. But Lock Haven was a school that I ended up going to, visiting at least. He was a UDFA in 2024. He appeared in 5 games with, I want to say it was the Baltimore Ravens, and then he ended up going to the practice squad. And then Collier was signed to the Ravens active roster on October 21st, and then the team ended up, having to move on from him. So he has yet to play a single offensive snap for the Ravens this season, but he did return 10 kickoffs for 220 yards. He's going to end up wearing the number, it looks like, if my numbers are here, number 33. So you might even see him out on the field with all the injuries that we have, and I'll get into those in just a moment. I think the bigger signing that the Raiders made today for the practice squad was that cornerback, Keenan Isaac. And the reason why maybe some of you go, oh, wait, I think I've heard that name before. Keenan Isaac was one of the, I think, most coveted players after that first wave of cuts that ended up happening. So he had a really solid preseason, and he was with Tampa Bay. I even tweeted it out at Mitchell Renz 365. I'm like, hey, this could be a player that the Raiders could be interested in. He's 6'2", 190 pounds. Some people might even say he's closer to 200, but he's a good athlete overall. Played college at Alabama State, undrafted player in 2023. He's also played in 7 career games, 2 last season, 5 this season. But it was because of that really solid preseason that him and then, I want to say it was like 5 other players were claimed very early by the Carolina Panthers. So if you remember, on that very first time that waiver period is out, the Panthers got that number 1, I guess, order in the waiver claims, and Keenan Isaac was one of the very top players that they went out there and got. So due to all the injuries in the secondary that the Raiders have right now, I think that's why Isaac was a claim that they ended up making today. If you didn't know that the Raiders signed those 2 practice squad players or that they cut the other 2, hey, that's why you hit that subscribe button. No news is too small. No news is too big. Holy shit, Mitch. Get it out of your mouth. But seriously, if you're trying to stay up to date on all things going on around the Las Vegas Raiders, click that subscribe button. Let's get into the injury news here because there's a lot of it. At the running back position, Zamir White and Alexander Madison. Zeus is dealing with a quad. Madison's dealing with an ankle. They're not going to practice today on Wednesday. So maybe a little bit of a concerning thing. AP at his presser today was asked about Dylan Laube, and he did say that, he could play. Pierce, though, then kind of rambled on about Laube and how he's a great player. He's always got a smile on his face. And then he ended up saying, Laube's going to get an opportunity this week. So I'll be curious to see if he does actually play. Haven't really seen him on the field since he fumbled early on, but a player that it sounds like comes to work every single day and works his freaking tail off. On the defensive side of the football, more injuries here. Nate Hobbs, ankle, will not practice. Jack Jones, back, will not practice. Jacorian Bennett, shoulder, will not practice. I mean, that's literally the Raiders' starting corner. So what does that mean? DeCamerion Richardson, he's going to have to play a really big role this week in terms of slowing down Bo Nix, in terms of slowing down a Broncos offense that's been getting it going. I mean, Nix, when you look at what he has been able to put up in the month of November, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception, hell, over the past 2 months, I want to say that it's like 13 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in that amount of time. So you can see Sean Payton starting to give him a little bit more. Nix has been doing a good job in terms of just getting better and better and better, which is all you can really ask for from a rookie quarterback. But, I mean, I would like for the Raiders to try to slow down the Donkeys at least a little bit. So with all those injuries there, and, obviously the Raiders have got a lot of injuries in general. I mean, they are injury riddled. There is absolutely positively no doubt about it. The pinned comment that I'm going to give you guys here on today's show, which means it's the number one comment that I want you to answer, it's with all the injuries, I want you to name a player that needs to step up. My answer coming up after this YouTube ad break. The player that I'm going to say needs to step up the most on the defensive side of the football, I'm going to give you 2. DeCamerion Richardson, obviously, with all those injuries. But then I'm also going to say Isaiah Paul-Amal. And the reason why that I'm going to go that route is simply because when you have the amount of injuries that the Raiders do have in that secondary, realistically, it's Trevon Merrick was really the only original starter, and then it's Paul-Amal. Merrick's a free agent. Paul-Amal is going to be a free agent. Epps is a free agent. And because we know Epps isn't going to be out there on the field, if I'm the Raiders and I'm trying to figure out whether or not I want to bring back a player like Paul-Amal or not, here's a great opportunity to go out there and do so. The other player that I want to see play better this week is Gardner Minshew. Because when you go back and you think about the biggest plays of this season, I'm not kidding you. I actually think the biggest play of the season for the Raiders was that pick 6 that Minshew threw to Patrick Surtain, 100 yards. Because if you remember, the Raiders were winning that game 10-0. Raiders are winning that game 10-0. Ball's at the 5-yard line, and they try to do a weird rollout, horrible spacing there by Getsy. Minshew doesn't throw a great ball, and it ends up getting picked off by Surtain, and they take it a pick 6, and they take it all the way home. Since that pick 6, the Raiders have been outscored 188-99, and the Raiders have lost 6 straight games. That pick 6, I don't care what anybody says, really ruined Gardner Minshew's confidence. Hell, he's been benched 3 times since that. So those 2 guys really got to step up. Next thing that we're going to talk about today is the really big news around Shedeur Sanders. And if you haven't heard, he's going to be going to the East-West Shrine game. And the reason why that's big-time news is because usually a quarterback of his caliber, or the players that I would say are considered better, usually go to the Senior Bowl. So because he's not going to the Senior Bowl, because he's going to end up going to the Shrine game, that makes me excited because I live really close and we're going to be able to go. If you don't know where it is, it's going to be in Frisco, Texas, at the Star is where it's located. So not AT&T Stadium, but at the Star. I'm going to be able to go to that January 30th, 2025. If you're a Raiders fan and you're planning on going, hit me up. I'm down to go. I was trying to figure out why Shedeur would want to go. My biggest reason is that he's from Dallas, Texas, and maybe he gets an opportunity to showcase himself in front of Dallas because the Cowboys are going to be a team that's going to be interested in Shedeur. Now, obviously, I don't think that the Cowboys are going to be as bad as the Raiders. Maybe if they don't get Dak bad, because I want to say that they've been outscored the most since Prescott has been injured. But just could be an opportunity where he gets more of his friends and family around. But as soon as I heard that Shedeur is going to the East-West Shrine game, I actually was curious to find out if there's going to be maybe some other bigger name players that could go there, because let's face it, if you're a player and you're trying to get your name out there a little bit more, not saying that the Senior Bowl is not a great thing to do, which you should do it, but I also know that the cameras, the lights, and a lot of notoriety is going to be around Shedeur Sanders, and 5 other Colorado players are going to be going. Coach Prime announced that one today. Travis Hunter, not one of those players, so I thought that was kind of interesting. But the first thing that I thought of then from the Raiders' standpoint is, well, are there any coaches at the East-West Shrine game? And there's Gerald Alexander. He's right now the Raiders' defensive backs coach, or not DB coach, excuse me. He's the Raiders' safety coach, and he's going to be there for the West team, and he's going to coach the linebackers, which this is back-to-back years where one of our coaches is going to be a linebacker coach. I know last season Rob Leonard was a linebacker coach for the Senior Bowl, and then the other coach on the east side is going to be Ricky Manning Jr. He's the Raiders' defensive back coach, and he's going to be playing DB coach for the east side. So I'm telling you what, right now, I'm going to be locked into that football game. I'm actually going to be able to be there, and I'm going to watch Shedeur in person. It's going to be a really fun experience. Coming up next, though, is going to be the news that hope makes you smile. In the Raiders season that's like this, I think that we need to find ways to smile as much as humanly possible. Before I get into that, though, I do want to talk about our awesome sponsor here, Panda Sups. If you want protein that's got 30 grams of protein, 2 grams of carbs, 140 calories, 1 gram of sugar, I want you to try out their strawberry one. It's a multi-stage protein. It's grass-fed collagen, probiotic blend, which also really helps out your stomach, and it's got a lot of the digestive enzymes that you need. One of my favorite things about Panda Sups protein, and a lot of people don't believe me when I tell them, but you can literally see that this is a freeze-dried strawberry, and you're going to get it in your protein shake. I freaking love it because when you're sipping on a shake, you know, it kind of just mixes it up a little bit. Plus, it gives you something to chew on where I'm not Panda. Do not make a Bloody Mary protein smoothie. But what I mean by this is, like, when I have a Bloody Mary, this might be weird for some people out there, I want to chew on it. I want to be able to, like, chew on the tomato. I want it to be, like, thick in my mouth, giggity. And that's what this protein does. I'm obsessed with it. Every protein that I get from there, I do. I absolutely love. It's also no soy or gluten. So my fiance Alex recently has been eating it because she's been trying to go gluten-free. No added sugar, no artificial colors, no amino spiking. So bottom line, if you need an awesome protein that you can use as a meal supplement, try out their Panda Sups protein. Also, I've been talking about this a lot. It's called their Nootropics, which locks you into whatever you're doing. It's not really like taking an energy drink. It's a great thing for an energy drink replacement. But if you need to boost your energy, you're going to become laser focused, try out the Nootropics. Those are 2 products that I absolutely love. All right, so let's get into the news that hope makes you smile a little bit. Today, there were 25 players that were announced to be inductees into the NFL Hall of Fame, and there were some nominees out there, and 2 of which were Raiders players. The first one that I saw was Eric Allen. He played 4 years with the Raiders from 1998 to 2001. Overall, 14 years in the NFL, 217 games played, 54 picks, 8 touchdowns, 787 tackles. He was a first-team All-Pro in 1989, second-team All-Pro in 1991 and 93. That was the year I was born. Shout out to the 93 babies. And then a 6-time Pro Bowler as well. The other player was Steve Wisniewski. And you know, when I was going through and I was looking at some of these names, you kind of forget some of the greats that are out there. And when I say forget, not that I forgot about them, but you don't realize how many greats that the Raiders had in the early 90s, right? So for Wisniewski here, he played his entire 13-year career with the Raiders, 206 games in total, which pretty freaking spectacular right there. He's 2-time first-team All-Pro in 91 and 92, 6-time second-team All-Pro, 8-time Pro Bowler, and he was voted into the 90s All-Decade team. I should also mention some more injuries before I'm getting ready to get on out of here because we're going to do that. Some of the injury reports just popped up, and I got to get out of here a little bit earlier today. I'll tell you why at the end of the video. But Eric Allen, Steve Wisniewski, those are the 2 nominees that at least played for the Raiders. My question to the nation down below that I want you to answer is there another player that you're sitting around going, man, I can't believe this guy hasn't been nominated yet. I've been waiting around. I got a comment today earlier. It was like, what about Jim Plunkett? I know we waited for Cliff Branch for a while. So, like, give me a name down below that if you're hoping the NFL figures out a way to get this guy into the Football Hall of Fame, that was a Raider. All right, y'all, before I get out of here, the injury news that just popped up was Harrison Bryant and Andre James are also not practicing, which James wasn't really anticipated. The Raiders are expected to go with the offensive line that they went with last week up against the Miami Dolphins, so there's something there. But the reason why that I got to actually get out of here a little bit early today at work, I got in at 7, and I'm going to try to leave by like 4:30. Today's my dad's birthday. So today my dad's turned 65. He's also celebrating like a 10-year work anniversary in Collier. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to hop on out of here. I'm going to call my dad, and he's going to go out to dinner. We're going to have like a little like IG FaceTime dinner. But I also have family from Danville that's in town, so I'm going to go visit with them. But tomorrow, make sure you tune in. I'm going to be dressing up as a pilgrim. We're going to have a Thanksgiving Day feast. Shout out to Chugs. He's going to get some goodies. But then also there's going to be opportunities where my dad's going to pull up and have some fun, party with us a little bit for his 65th birthday. So make sure you guys tune into that. I'm going to get out of here. Appreciate everyone who's always tuning into the show. Reminder again, the code is TANK at pandasups.com. That link's in the comments. It's in the description of the show. I recommend the protein. I recommend the nootropics. And if you don't already know, we're going to be live on Sunday when the Raiders play the Denver Broncos. Win, lose, or tie, it's Raider Nation till I die. And we're going to have a lot of fun on that day. All right, y'all, for more content around the silver and black, why don't you click this big old red subscribe button right here. If you're having trouble finding the subscribe button, you can find it underneath the video. You can also click it right here up on screen. I promise you, if my dad can do it, you can do it. If you're looking for even more videos, you can find them right here. Also, more content from the Raiders Report by Chat Sports here, and make sure you're subscribed.